I can already hear the clacking knees of the YouTube ban agents or moderators with their fingers over the ban button, shaking, saying the wrong thing. We're going to ban your show. Because we're about to talk about something big. Project Veritas reports military documents about gain of function contradict Fauci testimony under oath. Military documents state that EcoHealth Alliance approached DARPA in March 2018 seeking funding to conduct gain of function research of bat-borne coronaviruses. The proposal, named Project Diffuse, was rejected by DARPA over safety concerns and the notion that it violates the gain of function research moratorium. The main report regarding the EcoHealth Alliance proposal leaked on the internet a couple months ago. It has remained unverified until now. Project Veritas has obtained a separate report to the Inspector General of the Department of Defense, written by U.S. Marine Corps Major Joseph Murphy, a former DARPA fellow. The proposal does not mention or assess potential risks of gain of function research, a direct quote from the DARPA rejection letter. Project Veritas reached out to DARPA for comment regarding the hidden documents and spoke with the chief of communications, Jared Adams, who said, quote, "It doesn't sound normal to me," when asked about the way the documents were buried. Now, I want to say a few things before we get started. Very simply, consult your doctor and don't take any of this as medical advice. We're not here to provide that, and take it all with a grain of salt. I've seen a lot of people jump on this and say, I see two things. One, the left saying you can't trust Project Veritas. Their information is no good, and that therefore it's bad. I see people on the right saying this is definitive proof. It's finally what we were looking for. Let me just state, this reporting by Veritas, very well done. Very, very well done. Veritas didn't just come out and release a letter from a Marine Corps major assessing certain information and then trying to claim it's true. They actually got corroborating evidence of an intercept story. This is from September 23rd, 2021. Leaked grant proposal details high-risk coronavirus research, where they specifically mention Project Diffuse, which Project Veritas has now corroborated. This is a left-wing publication, and Project Veritas getting documents on the same thing. Suffice it to say, the left's assessment of Project Veritas being wrong is untrue. That being said, the assessment from the U.S. Marine Corps major is just that. It is his analysis of undisclosed documents. Trust him if you want to trust him, or don't. I think it's very important to make sure that you take into consideration it's not someone involved in the projects admitting to anything. It's someone who had been at DARPA saying, I read these documents and here's my analysis. That being said, I don't know, Luke, if you want to start bringing up some of these points that you thought were most alarming.
Yeah, I mean, if these documents are true, I mean, there's a lot of big implications here, because this shows how EcoHealth Alliance was seeking DARPA funding in specific gain-of-function research related to bat coronaviruses. They called this Project Diffuse, and allegedly, according to these documents, this was rejected by DARPA in 2018 because of safety concerns, and it would violate a lot of course, the protections that are in the United States that don't allow this kind of dangerous work, which could lead to some very serious ramifications. What did NIAID do? What did EcoHealth Alliance do after this? They just simply said, well, there's no regulations and safety concerns in China where the Chinese government gets to do whatever they want as long as they oversee every step of the process. And essentially, I think it's fair to assume now that they took this very dangerous work, which allegedly, according to these documents, DARPA didn't want to do because it was too dangerous, it was too unsafe, and they just did it in China, which proved that there was some warning, some hindsight here that should be, of course, known about, that should be talked about. There was also U.S. Senator Rand Paul questioning Dr. Fauci about a lot of this. There's also the GOP Oversight Committee releasing the emails and the communications with NIAID, specifically showing how Dr. Fauci is being accused of concealing about a lot of the origin of this story coming from that Wuhan laboratory where this dangerous function studies were being sent to, and downplaying this lab leak theory. That's big.
We had it was Peter Navarro who was on the show, and he said that at the time they were having these meetings about COVID and this potential pandemic, Fauci was there and did not disclose to them the things he had known about gain of function, about EcoHealth Alliance. And even if they didn't believe the lab leak theory or hypothesis or whatever, don't you think Fauci should have told the Trump administration, hey, there's something we considered, and it's this, that it may have come from this lab?
You would think that if that administrative state answered to the executive branch, which apparently I'm learning in my adult years that it doesn't necessarily play second fiddle to the executive branch. What I'm saying is the administrative state, these people that have been there for 40 years, Fauci, been in that job for 40 years, he doesn't answer to Joe Biden.
Highest paid government employee, right?
Yep. And then
$432,000, is that his salary?
Yep. That's a huge amount of money, especially for a government worker.
I got to read a portion of this analysis because I'm not going to look. I understand that this can be considered contentious, so I'm going to read this portion from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency document. From Commandant of the Marine Corps Fellow at DARPA to the Inspector General, subject SARS-CoV-2 origins investigation with the U.S. government program, undisclosed document analysis. That right there is very important to consider. This is somebody who worked at DARPA who read the following documents and is providing his analysis. But his analysis is absolutely insane. Okay, and you can take that any direction you want. Someone on the left is going to be like, this dude's out of his mind. And people on the right are going to be like, yo, this is crazy in the more colloquial sense. He says, you ready for this? SARS-CoV-2 is an American-created recombinant bat vaccine or its precursor virus. It was created by an EcoHealth Alliance program at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, as suggested by the reporting surrounding the lab leak hypothesis. The details of this program have been concealed since the pandemic began. These details can be found in the EcoHealth Alliance proposal response to the DARPA Preempt Program Broad Agency Announcement dated March 2018, a document not yet publicly disclosed. The contents of the proposed program are extremely detailed. Peter Daszak lays out step by step what the organization intends to do by phase and by location. The primary scientists involved, their roles, and their institutions are indicated. The funding plan for the WIV work is its own document. The reasons why non-pharmaceutical interventions like masks and medical countermeasures like mRNA vaccines do not work well can be extrapolated from the details. The reasons why the early treatment protocols work as curatives are apparent. Now, that is where you start to get into danger zone territory. But let me just, I want to make sure it's very clear. This is a major at DARPA giving his assessment of these documents. Now, this is an expert. I mean, this is a guy who's privy to information that was not publicly disclosed, talking about what he thinks about it. That being said, take it with a grain of salt. You've got to decide for you what you think is what's trustworthy and what's not. And I will very much add, as it pertains to what he's saying, that is the opinion of this major, not the show. It is not medical advice. And always consult a trusted medical professional on your medical decisions and what needs to happen for you. And I'll just keep it, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, this is his assessment after looking at some of the classified information that the public is not privy to. I think right now the conversation has been started, and for the government to clear everything up here, to have some transparency and accountability, they should release these documents immediately so they could set the record straight, specifically so we know exactly what's going on here. You want us to trust us? Give us reason to. Give us these documents. Release them. The time is now more than ever to do so.
I'm weary a little bit. I'm weary. I think Project Veritas has released the other diffused documents, which is corroborating reporting we got a few months ago. And I think that was smart. It shows that these additional documents they've received do come from a verified source. However, many people have pointed out, doesn't this seem a little too good to be true? Like too on the nose is a better way to put it.
Maybe, but also it's kind of like the emperor is not wearing any clothes, you guys. We've thought this, maybe that there was a lab leak going on for 8 months. It's starting to be more accepted, or 5 months or 6 months.
Well, just really
and now
quick.
It's like, okay, just don't ban me for pointing out that the emperor has no clothes for a second.
But this could be a psyop, but we're going to talk about that in just a little bit.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It might be invisible clothes, yeah.
This could be a psyop, perhaps. We know that there were attempts to provide false documents to WikiLeaks in the past.
Yes.
Tricking them into publishing them so they could then say, aha, look, WikiLeaks publishes false information.
Yep.
But I also want to point out, could it be that this major read the same news sources or watched Tucker Carlson and then wrote a report based on what he saw in the news?
It could be fabricated, yeah.
Not fabricated, just like,
Biased.
he says, what does he say? He actually mentions in the article as reported,
Oh.
The lab leak hypothesis as reported or whatever he says, right?
So you think it might be partisan, like political? They're trying to...
Not necessarily political, but, his view, it's tough. Out of sight, out of mind, and the opposite, right? If people don't hear something in the news, they don't talk about it. If people do hear it in the news, they talk about it. I'm just saying it's possible that this guy may have it may sound like a bit on the nose because maybe he's for all we know, this guy watches this show and then he's like, wow, that's crazy. Then he writes a report. He reads the document, says, yep, I see it. And then we then end up reading it being like, aha. And it's just confirming, what we already believed.
Well, I agree with you on the timing of this. This does seem a little bit suspicious to me because all of these, Jake Tapper is starting to agree with these crazy right-wing conspiracies. They're admitting that like the menstrual changes that women were reporting that they said was nonsense. Yeah, all this is happening at the same time. Very convenient.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We've got NPR saying, yes, actually, the vaccines do alter your menstrual cycle, something women had been saying for the past couple of years that was deemed a conspiracy theory. Yeah. Then you get Jake Tapper outraged that COVID hospitalizations are inflated by some 40%. Then we get this document basically giving an expert confirmation or an expert analysis, which lends itself to lab leak hypothesis.
That does smell like a psyop to me.
They were actually...
I don't want to outright say it's discredited.
Numbers would have been inflated by 60% if 40% of them were... of the total had been inflated. That means when you have 60% is your full amount, to get to 100, you're going to have to increase it by 40, which is 60% of 60, thereabout. So it's actually inflating the number by, it's a little, not necessarily kind of a derailment, but they inflated the numbers by 60% to get to a place where it says that 40% of them had comorbidities and
well, so this is basically, the inflation was when they said that people with COVID instead of from COVID.
Yeah, that was New York State announcing that with the governor officially saying that.
There was a really funny tweet I retweeted. Someone said, is American democracy dying with COVID or from COVID? And I was like, that was a really, really good one.
Yeah.
But in this instance with Jake Tapper, the issue is someone bumps their head, goes to the hospital. They say, we're going to test you for COVID. When I had COVID and I called the local hospital, I was like, what's the protocol? Like, what should I do? And they said, why don't you come in? And I said, okay, well, what do I do if I come in? They said, we'll run some tests. And I said, why would I need tests done? Like, I took an at-home test. It said I had COVID. And they were like, well, we'll come in and we'll do some tests. And then I kid you not. And I said, and then what do you do for me? Are you going to prescribe medicine? And said, no. And I said, so I should just like leave my home and come here so you can tell me what I already know? I was calling because I was wondering if there was like if there was something you can do or if there's something I should do. And they were like, oh, I don't know, it's a virus. Go to sleep. And okay. But they wanted me, I swear. So afterwards I was like, they want me to just come in for tests? Mm-hmm. Is it because they want to just run billing or something?
They get paid, baby. Dude, we were talking about that yesterday, how much money these organizations are getting for having a COVID case, having a COVID death, especially on file.
On ventilators, putting people on ventilators.
And that's just on file, with COVID on file. And then it's treated as it was a COVID.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.